Good day, everyone. I am your host, Leah Shoko, and today I am with Cindy Wong as she talks about creative nonfiction writing in today's Learn with IndieCo session. Cindy Wong pursued her education at the University of Hong Kong while working full time in her corporate job. Having worked a decade in the traveling industry, specializing in the Middle East, Central Asia, and Africa, her work allowed her to travel to over 50 countries, including Antarctica. Cindy is now a full time creative entrepreneur. She founded several businesses, including 8 Letters Bookstore and Publishing, aiming to boost the evolving Philippine indie author industry. Aside from offering indie publishing services to professionals and aspiring authors, 8 Letters nurtures a thriving writing community by conducting a monthly lit fest with author launches and writing workshops. Cindy is also the author of several books, including 31st, Back in Santa Barbara, Embracing Uncertainties, One, Two, Shit, The Meatball Club, and this book. She now resides in Cebu while running the publishing house bookstore, cafe, and bar. Today, in preparation for our upcoming anthology with them, she will be giving some tips and tricks on how to write essays that impact and inspire. Take it away, Cindy.
Hi, Leah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for attending these Indicos. I'm going to put on a title for this workshop. It's the journey because we're going to talk about how to write creative nonfiction essay. So, basically, this workshop is it's going to be short. It's good for beginners and non-beginners as well. What I'm going to cover. Okay, I'll show you guys my agenda. So this my outline. There's the starting line, of course, the or how to form your voice, and finally freeing your story. So these are the three things that I would like to highlight with you. It's going to be a little bit intensive 20 to 30 minute workshop. So if you have any questions, comments, so just simply put them on the comments below. We'll try to answer them towards the end of this workshop. Okay, so let's get this on. Okay, so when when writing personal essays, uh, we first have to know what is it about or where do we start. Well, usually my recommendation is, of course, to try to read as much as you can. And at the top of my head, these are the three books that I would like to, or that I'd like to recommend you guys. The first one is what I talk about when I talk about Running by Haruki Murakami. So uh, I only read this book a few years back during the pandemic, and and yeah, so Leia loves Murakami. Yeah, so while I was reading it, I remember like he was only talking about running, but there were times na there will be memories flashing through, or it could be memories, or it could be something that where his mind was wandering to. So parang ganon. And yeah, you may check out this book if you haven't read this yet. There's also from the 8 Letters collection, of course, I've got to sell my own, Expedition, Biyahe sa Nakaraan. So this is a collection of personal essays we published back in 2018. 2018. So there were about 4 to 5 writers, and as you can see from the title, there is a theme. So while Murakami was talking about his life while he's running, um, we were talking about life as we were traveling. So parang we kind of put a theme on it. Of course, the classic Miss Bebangsi with her book It's a Man's World. This was one of the first memoirs that I've read, which also made an impact in my life because if you haven't heard about Miss Bebangsi, we're friends now, but like before I started as a fan. Um, she opened up my paano ba, my mind when it comes to how how life how life evolves basically. So yes, you can check out these three books if you want to know where to start at least. Okay, so there's the starting line. Okay, so what is it about creative nonfiction personal essays? Is it like fiction na may beginning, middle, and um may mga stories kasi no na there are certain formulas when you write them. So what is the formula, or what does it take to write a personal essay? Okay, as you can see here from my slide, okay, do you know that you can write about something uneventful day? Maybe it could be uh well, like for example, Haruki was talking about running. So how can you make it more interesting? So life as you know it is often uninteresting, unlike the movies that we watch. So how do you make it more attractive for the readers when you tell your life story, or does it have to be, well, the thing about personal essays, they're not autobiographies. So let's just put a big barrier between these two, because yes, these are the stories of your life. Yeah, both autobiographies and personal essays, they can be both about your life. But the thing is autobiography, may chronological order siya, right? But the thing about personal essays naman, it could be, like when you write on your diary. So pwedeng ganun. It could be like random stuff. Pero you have to make it interesting. It doesn't need to be like my climax or my um the thing about fiction kasi, you're building anticipation, or you're building something na people will look forward to. The thing about creative nonfiction, it's more of a journey in itself. So it's somehow there is no exact formula to write it. But okay, I'll give you some tips na rin. Where you are is where you begin. Okay, so if you're wondering where to start with creative nonfiction, you can start with the last conversation you had. It could be the meal you had last weekend, or the song on your Spotify playlist. Like, what is it about? Like, you can't just keep rambling. Pwedeng ganon. Okay, so one catches the moments they experience change. Well, of course, as I was saying, it doesn't have to be like masyadong madrama. It doesn't have to be so dramatic. But then, if you're thinking about from your reader's point of view, kailangan there should be some shift or some point that you want to make. Pwedeng ganon. Okay? Pwedeng kasi of course that's the difference between writing on your diary and writing a personal essay for people to read, right? Because if you're just writing in your diary, it could be just about anything. But if you're going to write something that's worth reading for people, you'll have to choose a specific topic uh, that will of course create an impact for the reader. So it could be the moments where you experience change, or the instance where a meal was more than just a meal, where a passing comment became a catalyst for self-reflection. And then that's where you dig deeper. But then, okay, how to unearth the stories within? Okay, there are many ways. So the first thing is you can build a habit of constant observation and reflection. So kanina, I mentioned that if you want to write personal essays, the best thing to do is to read as much as you can. Okay, read as much as you can. And then here's the thing. Diyan kasi mabubuo, or diyan manggagaling, no? Yung where your mind wanders to somewhere, not just somewhere, but to a thought that developed in itself. So I remember before, while I was in Hong Kong, I would think about some things. Kasi minsan nakaka-bore naman talaga, no? Maglakad from one place to another. And people in Hong Kong, we tend to walk so much. Okay. So from work to the train station, I think that walk would last about 10 minutes. So yung 10 minutes na yan, marami nang pwedeng pumasok sa isip ko. And I somehow built this habit of constant observation. I mean, I could be just a robot. Why not? We could be just robots. Na parang okay, we get from point A to point B, but life doesn't work that way. Um, of course, there are people then, they automatic na lang. But well, if you're a writer and if you're a reader, you build this habit of observing people and reflecting from the information that you gather. So yeah, that's where we analyze the things that we encounter, the people we encounter, and then even those people na hindi natin na-encounter, pwedeng, maybe they just pass by and some things would just play in your mind. So pwedeng ganon. Okay, so sabi nga ni F. Scott Fitzgerald, you've got to sell your heart, your strongest reactions, not the little minor things that only touch you lightly, the little experiences that you might tell at dinner. So have you guys, I'm sure you've experienced sitting on a table along with other people. Do you remember the stories that you tell to your friends, to your family, or to your special someone? No? I'm sure you don't just make chismes. Pero pwede rin namang chismes. Pero pwede rin naman those stories that are worth telling. So you can take note of these stories that you tell other people. Okay. So here's another phrase for you, also by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The amateur can only realize his ability to transfer his emotion to another person by some such desperate and radical expedient as tearing your first tragic love story out of your heart and putting it on pages for people to see. So when you write personal essays, the difference of it is that it's not just in your diary, it's for people to see, it's for people to read. So you've got to be careful. There are some the rules is of course to open your heart, because this is your truth and you're telling your truth to people, you're sharing it with them, so you're sharing a part of your soul. So can you imagine what does it take for people to share? Sometimes nga, 'di ba, may mga tao, there are even secretive people na they're not comfortable to share their stories. But you're here because you want to learn how to share it naturally, how to share it wherein you're happy or you're comfortable with whatever it is that you're sharing. And of course, not only comfortable with what you're happy sharing about, but being comfortable sa mga bagay na hindi ka komportableng i-share. So sometimes, yung mga pinakamahirap na i-share, yun yung may mga kailangan ilabas o yun yung mga worth it na mabasa. Sometimes. Okay, so that anyhow is the price of admission, whether you're prepared to pay for it or whether it coincides or conflicts with your attitude on what is nice is something for you to decide. But literature, even light literature, will accept nothing less from the neophyte. It is one of those professions that wants the works. You wouldn't be interested in a soldier who was only a little brave. So, yes, I hope tumatak sa inyo itong phrase na to. There you go. Yeah, so just to highlight, stories come at no cheap price, right? So perhaps you've done a lot of, amazing, not just amazing, but great things. The thing about great things, they're not necessarily good things. It could be mistakes, the regrets that you have. It could be um the ano ba the dilemma that you had, or well, basically it couldn't be, or it should not be the simple things, because otherwise Well, maybe, bakit nga naman? Like, o ano pang sense? Bakit mo ilalabas na yung mga simpleng bagay? Well, the thing is, there are also, the simple things are also worth sharing naman. But then, you want to move people in creative nonfiction. Okay, then there's the forming your voice. So this is the second stage. Once you're at the starting line, once you know what you're going to write, there's the gathering the voices. Okay, gathering the voices. Okay, we'll talk about that later, and then render it back. Gathering the voices, it's more of understanding or hearing yourself as you speak. Okay, so ako naririnig yung boses ko kasi kanina pa ako nagsasalita. And this is perhaps, or I hope I don't sound like this on paper, pero iba naman talaga, di ba? Pag nagsasalita ka to your friends, to your family, or to other people, versus how you sound like in your head, and then versus how you sound like on paper. But anyhow, these are your voices. These are the voice. This is your voice. Okay. And then rendering it back. Okay, so I want to show you something. I want to show you two examples, and let's take some time to read it. Okay, this is by Dave Eggers, a heartbreaking work of staggering genius. Okay, I think this is also a memoir. Yeah, this is actually a memoir. Let us read that. Let us read that using Dave Eggers' voice. Okay. Okay, let's do this. We feel that to reveal embarrassing or private things, we have given someone something that, like a primitive person, fearing that a photographer will steal his soul, we identify our secrets, our past, and their blotches with our identity. That revealing our habits or losses or deeds somehow makes one less of oneself. But it's just the opposite. More is more is more. More bleeding, more giving. Okay, well, I'm using my voice, of course, and maybe you're using your voice as you read it. Pero please observe the words that he's using in this paragraph. Okay, versus this one. This one is by Marilyn Robinson in Housekeeping. Okay, let's try to read this one. There is so little to remember of anyone. An anecdote, a conversation at a table, but every memory is turned over and over again. Every word, however chance, written in the heart, in the hope that memory will fulfill itself and become flesh, and that the wanderers will find a way home, and the parish, whose lack we always feel, will step through the door, finally and stroke our hair with dreaming, habitual fondness, not having meant to keep us waiting long. So, as you can see, Dave uses words such as, let's see, um, secrets, habits. It's like simple words yung ginagamit ni Dave. And a little bit casual. Kasi we feel that to reveal embarrassing or private things, it's more casual. Wherein, dito naman sa housekeeping, it gives me a feeling na mas formal si Marilyn. Yeah, or how about you guys? For those of you who are watching right now, can you notice the different voices between Marilyn and Dave? Kasi magkaibang tao sila. Magkaiba yung word o yung voices na ginagamit nila. Magkaiba yung language nila. I mean, yes, of course, they're using the English language, but the vocabulary that they have, what else? The feeling that they give you, magkaiba. Ayan. Yes, you may have a look. You may have a look. There you go. Okay. Perhaps I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a minute. You can take a screenshot and then compare the two. So this is Marilyn. Okay, and then this is Dave. Okay, you can read it in your head. And okay, yeah, so I've got some notes here. So while both sound like the voice in one's head, the former Eggers takes on a more contemporary conversational tone. So whereas Marilyn, parang formal. So she's more of like a narrator. So parang more detached. Have you noticed that? So Marilyn is more of a narrator, and then the other is more of a someone who's giving you a conversation. There. Okay. There you go. So yeah, so as we go along, you will also develop your own voice. You will also develop um the language. I mean, from the moment that we're born, we've got this knowledge of language, right? Kung ano man yung usual na ginagamit mo sa araw-araw. Sometimes I also have this thing about language because kapag hindi ka ganun ka educated or kung hindi ka ganun ka nagbabasa, that means your vocabulary tends to be uh, how should I put this? Hindi masyadong marami yung ginagamit mong vocabulary words. Pwedeng maybe you're sticking with the basic words or basic terms. So lalabas yun sa story nyo. Wherein, if you're the type of person na, okay, you're very much of a bookworm and you've got tons of word bank in your vocabulary list, then it will also show, it will also reflect in your story or in whatever it is that you're writing. All right, okay, let's move on. So I want you guys to pay close attention to how words are strung on paper and how they sound in the telling of the story. There you go. And then finally, there's the part where you free your story. Okay, so there are two things that will help you with this. The first thing, okay, if you really want to dig deeper, is to find solitude. There's gold in solitude. So okay, so I have this cafe in Cebu. Um it's I try to keep it as quiet as possible because I want people to find solitude when they come here. Okay, and then of course words don't necessarily or they don't always flow naturally. So you've got to put in patience. Uh you've got to well be patient with yourself. Sometimes, diba, there are many distractions. There are many distractions when it comes to writing. It could be like you're distracted by the people around you or distracted by yourself, by your own thoughts. Pwedeng, oh, okay, ang dami na, ang hirap isulat. Ang hirap isulat if words are not coming out naturally or pwedeng um, parang nai-stuck sila. Like, like, paano ba? Nai-stranded sila in your mind and minsan hindi siya nagpo-flow. So you've gotta put in patience. Okay, I remember in Haruki Murakami's book, he was saying he would run first in the morning and then he would write in the afternoon. So can you imagine the solitude that he got while he's running? And so marami nang tumatakbo sa isip niya while he's running. And then maybe during that stage where he finds solitude, he's able to get the words out. this reminds me that I've got to do exercises in the morning because when your body is in sync, in your mind, and if you're well exercised, your brain follows. So yeah, you can also try this tip. Okay, so yeah, there goes. I told you it's gonna be quick. These are the three resources that I have. The first one is Journaling by Lon's memoir writing kit. The second one, this is another recommended book. Okay, The Art of Writing a Memoir by Mary Carr. And then the other one is well, we also have this 8 Letters Publishing University in-depth memoir writing masterclass. It's going to be next week, so you can also check out our post about that. We're having a hybrid session dito sa cafe with author Mita Susan. Kasi she also have this memoir called Shards of Time. So yeah, you can also check that out. Otherwise, that's all me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that insightful discussion, Cindy. Make sure to follow 8 Letters on all their social media pages and stay tuned for our upcoming anthology with them. Don't forget to follow the Independent Collective as well for more updates and fun content. Again, this has been Leah Shoko, your host, and this is Cindy Wong, the Chief Curator of 8 Letters Publishing. Thanks again